Hi. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. It's been a hot minute since I've made a video, and today is going to kind of be a precursor slash testing the waters for another video where I might do something more in-depth, more, written out in terms of my beliefs around healing and support in Guild Wars 2 and where healing and support playstyles currently stand when it comes to the PvE experience and open world stuff. So in today's video, which you might have guessed, I'm going to be going over the winners, the losers, and those that kind of fall in between for the End of Dragons elite specs in terms of which ones can provide support, which ones can provide healing and boons, and how effective can they do that. So let's head on over to the tier maker and talk about the elite specs. All right, everyone. So first and foremost, just to get them out of the way, I want to categorize those that bring essentially nothing to the table. Now, of course, Guild Wars 2 is an ever-evolving game with a balanced team that touches up skills, reworks skills. This is mostly just going to be talking about current day making of this video. These elite specs would be Virtuoso, Untamed, and also Blade Sworn. And this is particularly for the elite specs. I understand that the rest of the class might bring some group utility, but when it comes to this video, I'm going to be looking at the End of Dragons elite specs specifically. Now, of course, with the Blade Sworn, I just want to mention that there are methods of doing a shout healing build. Because things have ammunition like shouts, the Blade Sworn does allow you to recharge those ammo skills very quickly and with a lot of ease. So you might be able to build something a little more niche in terms of a Blade Sword shout healer. Now, as for the other elite specs, we have Catalyst, Harbinger, Mechanist, Spectre, Vindicator, and Willbender. I think Catalyst brings a really strong front on the boons. These boons being quickness, might, protection, and to a lesser extent in open world PvE and also endgame PvE, resolution. I think because these boons are so core to the Catalyst's profession mechanic, I would definitely slot it at A. And you can definitely camp in fire and or air for a long period of time and just have 100% uptime on quickness, and I'm not exactly sure, but I imagine you can get a lot of might rolling on yourself and also allies. So I think for those reasons, I would definitely slot Catalyst in a strong A. It doesn't really bring a lot of healing and or barrier, though you can combo in certain fields to provide extra healing on water fields. But I think as a whole, the Catalyst is a spec that focuses on self-preservation and also boon playstyles for the group. And then in the same vein of this, we have Harbinger. Now, I think Harbinger has a slight one-up on the Catalyst in terms of the variety of boons that it can provide. Not only is Harbinger really great at dealing that damage and that damage over time, but also providing these boons. Harbinger can provide every single boon in the game for 5 seconds on their elite skill. Now, it is capped at a certain duration, but that's still really great. And in terms of your other elixirs and being able to share them, building some concentration in there, you can get quickness, swiftness, might, fury. You can do some resolution and cleanse some conditions. I imagine regen on their healing elixir. So there's a lot of variety of boons that you can provide as a Harbinger. That being said, I still think Catalyst is a strong A, and I think Harbinger is a strong A when you look at the pure support category. Now we're talking about the best one, in my opinion. Maybe not just for End of Dragons, but as a whole, we have the Mechanist. The Mechanist is wild in terms of what it can do and how easily it can do it. So for the support function of Mechanist, first and foremost, and this is going to be the first time that we're talking about this, the Mechanist can provide support barrier to the group and also themselves. So while the Mechanist might not really be that great raw healer, you definitely can buffer some damage from the group in certain PvE situations. On top of that, whenever you apply barrier, via traits, you also apply Alacrity. Now, the great thing about this, you might wonder, like, hey, KROOF, it's just a trait. You apply Barrier, you get Quickness. There can't be that much Barrier application. To that, I would say, well, you're wrong, because Mechanist's Mace Auto Attack provides Barrier to not only themselves and the Golem, but also to their allies. So you can have permanent Alacrity uptime just by auto attacking. And then there's also traits that allow your mech to just passively pulse Barrier to allies, and that also applies Alacrity. So there is a monumental amount of Alacrity on the Mechanist, and that's even neglecting the mech's abilities themselves. If you take the full middle line, I believe it's either, I'm pretty sure it's F2. If you press F2, that skill just gives Alacrity baseline. So there's a bunch of different ways of applying Alacrity, and I think on top of the ease of Alacrity, you also have Barrier, and Barrier is extremely strong in Guild Wars 2 because it prevents damage from being taken. It is probably the best support spec to play if you're looking to play an End of Dragon support class, and also the easiest, so that's a big plus. Next we have Spectre. Spectre, I kind of want to put at A and also S. I think if I were to allow my bias to overshadow my objectiveness, I would put it at S+. I think it's currently sitting at A tier. I think Spectre is really, really cool in terms of its single target approach to support and providing Barrier, but I don't think that the gameplay facilitates this when it comes to PvE. When it comes to structured PvP, however, I think Spectre does shine a little bit more. It's unfortunate to see that the strike missions are not really built around 1 or 2 people taking consistent damage for single target abilities to really shine. Currently, there are no tanks in Guild Wars 2, and I think that is a damn right shame, in my opinion. And Spectre does not really have a place because it's still super AoE focused, and even in the challenge modes, the AoE pressure is immense. Now that doesn't mean that Spectre cannot provide some area of effect healing and or support. You can take certain trait lines, certain wells that apply that area of effect aid. On top of this, you also get Alacrity, which I think is a saving grace for Spectre. If it did not have Alacrity, I think this would be a different tune. It would probably be placed at B tier. But it has that added perk of, if you want to play a Spectre and you want to play a Thief Healer, maybe you don't have an Engineer, you can definitely play Spectre and fulfill that Alacrity role still. Next, we have Vindicator. Now, Vindicator, I'm gonna be honest, if we're just looking at the spec itself, to me, it falls in B tier. And I'm specifically looking at the Legendary Alliance stance. I know that Ventari is a tried and true support legend for Revenants, and it can also provide that Alacrity, and it's really nice for that. But when you look at the Legendary Alliance stance in a PvE setting, many of the Saint Victor skills, the Kurzik side of the utilities, they are very utility focused and conditional. Your heal, your 6th skill, is really the only strong heal that you have, but it's on a 10-second cooldown. Every other utility skill is, for the most part, conditional. You have to use Tree Song on allies that have conditions to get healing out of it, and also to get some more endurance. So you can't get raw healing just from using some of your utility skills. You do have a nice group, Stun Break, which is nice, and also your Saint Victor elite skill is pretty interesting. It reduces your own health over time, but it does grant you a lot of damage reduction. The lower health that you are, and when you pop this skill, the lower health you are, the more benefits you get out of that. I like it a lot in terms of its theme and in terms of its ideas, but I think that it definitely falls short when you compare it to other elite specs that provide that healing in terms of raw healing and or barrier, but also provide those key boons. Spectre can apply Alacrity, and so can Mechanist. Vindicator would be interesting if it also applied Quickness. And Saint Victor doesn't really apply great boons in terms of what the social thought, the social conscious is really gunning for, this being quickness and alacrity. It does provide regeneration, protection, and stability and resistance, which are all great and pretty important. But the way it stands, alacrity and quickness are just so damn strong that they are the ones that are really prioritized. I would like to see maybe the elite St. Victor. If you're at less than 25% health, I would love if that, instead of resistance, granted you either quickness and or alacrity to have something to invest your time into group content. I also think Tree Song should have a flat heal and then additional healing if you do cleanse some conditions. There could be something more to really just bolster that healing potential on Vindicator. In terms of the traits, I think they are really great and actually a saving grace for Vindicator. It just kind of needs a little bit more footing. We have Willbender, which is really exciting, but I'm putting it at B. So this is the current lineup in terms of all of the End of Dragons elite specs. But Willbender, I want to talk about Willbender because people might be a little bit surprised, but Phoenix Protocol, their Grandmaster trait, allows their alacrity to be shared to other allies. So Willbender might not necessarily be that go-to healer in terms of raw healing and being that mender of the wounded and getting people up, but it does have some group support capabilities. Now, this alacrity is extremely difficult to pop off, especially when you compare it to Mechanist. Mechanist, you simply auto-attack and you have permanent alacrity. As a Willbender, you have to press F2, and then within 8 seconds, hit 5 hits to trigger 1.5 seconds of alacrity, and then do those 5 hits as fast as you can to build up that timer. The more enemies you have, the more beneficial you will be, but if you're in a group setting, like a strike mission, you're usually only fighting one boss, so that makes it exponentially harder. Overall, Willbender really falls short in terms of their group support, and also the Grandmaster takes away that group healing. Instead of doing raw healing on your F2, it then transforms it to regeneration. However, regen sucks because if you don't have the highest healing power, you're not actually providing any healing to your group. So I would love to see Phoenix Protocol be changed to maybe be stronger with their alacrity providing. Aside from this, Boots, World of Enders, was doing a really cool build that I had a lot of interest in. And this was a build where you don't take Phoenix Protocol, so you miss out on that alacrity, but you still take your Grandmaster in Virtues, which allows you to share out your F2. And that means that whenever you use 5 hits, you splash out the healing. And I really enjoy the ideas in video games, not only Guild Wars 2, of combat healers. The more you attack, the more healing you provide. Or you put a buff on someone and your attacks deal a percentage of the damage to healing. So there are some of these more niche categories of Willbender potentially providing some buffer in terms of providing alacrity and or providing some splash heals. It's a little bit more flexible, but I will still say that Willbender, for the most part, is primarily damage focused. And that was that, everybody. Thank you all so much for coming on by. This was my tier list of the support specs and how the specs kind of chalk up in a support lineup. Definitely Mechanist is pretty much top tier. Then I would say Catalyst, Harbinger, Spectre. And what for me is a little bit disappointing to see fall a little bit below is Vindicator especially. But I am pleasantly surprised by Willbender in terms of they provide something. I really wasn't expecting Willbender to even be a contender in a support category when you really think about it. But hey, Guardian is still one of the favorites of Guild Wars 2. If you'd like to see more videos and some exclusive videos early, you can head on over to the Patreon and support the channel there. If you are interested in purchasing Guild Wars 2 End of Dragons, I have links below. I'm a partner. Thank you so much, ArenaNet. And if you're interested in VPN services, this video is also brought to you by ExpressVPN. Thank you so much, ExpressVPN. And other news, subscribing, liking, commenting, and sharing is wonderful. And I'm super excited for my cat-made costume to come. I don't know when that's coming. Thank you all so much for coming on by, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye, everybody.